Okay, so we are going to get started on another example using Docker Compose. We are in the Connect Mongo project, which is available for you in the project downloads. If you already went through the Docker Compose example with MySQL, this is going to look very, very similar. But, as another example, we are going to go through this. So this is a Python plus MongoDB Docker Compose dev stack. It's very much what it sounds like. We're going to have a MongoDB database and we're going to have a Python application, and we are going to make the two talk to each other all within a Docker stack. So we have our conda env configuration, we have our Docker file, and we'll go over all those in a minute, a Docker Compose file, and we also have bringing the stack up, executing a command, getting the logs, and taking your stack down, and then also removing things. So just like we had before, pretty much all the projects are going to follow exactly the same pattern. I hope that you're starting to see the pattern. Pretty much, we declare our dependencies for our actual application. We have our outside things like databases or message queues or, in-memory data stores, whatever they are. We have those somewhere else. We put them all together in a Docker Compose file, and then we make them talk to each other because that is where the magic happens. So again, we are going to look quickly at this Docker Compose file. What we have here is we have our services as usual. The first one is Mongo, and we're actually just using the official MongoDB image. And I have this set to restart, so if it goes down, it will just automatically restart. And then just as these handy environmental variables that the nice people who make the Docker the Docker images, they set all these nice environmental variables up for us, and here we go. This is the initial root username and the initial root password. We're going to put this on a network. I am going to talk a little bit about this time, but I'm going to wait until the end of the Docker file. And then we are also going to have a data volume, which we bind to this Docker entry point, the initialization entry point. So then down here we have our Python application. It looks pretty much like it always does. It depends upon Docker, or it also depends on Docker, but mostly it depends on the MongoDB image. And for this command, we're going to use this handy thing here where we pretty much just say, okay, have a dummy process in the foreground that keeps running no matter what. So we have both of those. And then just as a quick aside, we do have, I do have a network defined here. When you're using Docker Compose, you don't actually have to define one, but I wanna put it in here to make a point, and that is, you can have networks and then things in the same network talk to each other. So you could even have multiple networks within a single Docker Compose file. I'm not totally sure why you'd want to do that, but maybe you would. And then once you have things sitting together in this network, then the images can talk to each other. So that's why even if we didn't have a network defined, Docker Compose would actually create like a default network for us. And, and again, because Docker Compose is mostly just a mapping of the Docker run, in Docker run, you can also specify a network, and you could do multiple Docker runs, put them all with the same network, just -- network. Okay, and then they can also all talk to each other, but the Compose is it's a much easier syntax. It's pretty much what's preferred. That's generally how I see people doing things. So again, we have the Mongo. It relies upon an image. And then we have the Python app, and that just depends upon our usual Docker. It depends upon the MongoDB Docker image, and then it also has a Docker file, and we have this continuum IO miniconda 3. We're running all of our usual things, apt-get update, install, and we're setting our conda exes. So once we have those and they're all ready, what we are going to do is we are just going to fire up our Docker Compose stack, which is Docker Compose up. Okay, and there we go. So you can see it's up. This is because I already built it. I'm not sure if I explicitly stated this before, but when you run things, so when you run Docker Compose up, it builds all of your images, and it will also pull any dependencies that it has. So if this MongoDB image, if it was not available locally, then Docker would actually go and pull it, and it would recursively resolve all those dependencies. So once we have those, there we go, it's up. We're going to open up another terminal, and we're going to do exactly what we did before, docker compose exec python app bash. So once we're there, we're just going to run ipython, and we can see we're in our connect library. Oh, I didn't go over this, but it's pretty much the same as we've always seen. I have an environment, I named it connect. I installed Python, I installed IPython because, you know, I love IPython. The Anaconda client and PyMongo, which is the library that we're going to actually use to connect to the MongoDB database. And here's our connect Mongo script. So we're gonna run all that, and you can see we got some output, but I'm just gonna go over this quickly. So I'm importing the PyMongo library so that we can actually talk to our MongoDB database. And then down here I have this pesky connection string. So what this is this is the MongoDB connection. Okay, like this is the type of connection. So you'll often see this prefixed with like whatever kind of database it is. So if it's MySQL, it will be MySQL. If it's Postgres, it will be Postgres, so on and so forth. Root, this is the user. Password is the password at Mongo, which is the service name that we gave to our previous to the MongoDB image. And then 27017 is the default port for MongoDB. I don't know why it has such a weird port. Like almost everything else has something, you know, around like 3000 or 5000 or 80 for Nginx. But you know, MongoDB, that's the kind of port that they wanted to have, and that's the port that they wanted to have. So, or that's the port that they got. So again, we have our client. We're gonna make this connection. I mean, again, just to make sure that nothing like weird happens. It doesn't, you can see there it is. It doesn't throw any errors. Okay, and then we'll go through this a bit slower. So then I'm gonna say, well, I guess I'm not gonna say anything right now, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the movies collection, which is I just populated the MongoDB database with some data just so that I could populate it, or just so that we could have some example data to play with. And now, so client.movies, so client, get the database movies, and then within there list the collection name, which is another collection called movies. And then we're actually going to find one of the records. Okay, I don't know, maybe we're not going to find one. Oh, and there we go. See, so then we found a record. Here it is. I really like MongoDB. Like, I really like working with it because everything just looks like code. Like, it just looks like code. You can very easily read this into a dictionary or some other kind of data structure. And then, so now that you can see, I hope you're convinced that our Python application can in fact talk to our MongoDB instance. And I just want to go over this one again quickly because it's a little bit confusing. It's one of these things that like, it really tripped me up when I first started using it. Okay, there we go. So what this is, MongoDB is the type of database connection, which is MongoDB. Root is the user, which we set here using these like handy initialization variables. Password is, you know, the password, which we also set here. At Mongo is the host name, and the host name is always going to correspond to what we named the service. Okay, so here it is. This is what I named the service, so this is the host name. And 27017, that is the default port for MongoDB. As you do this kind of stuff more, you're gonna get, like, you're just gonna know what the default ports for things are. If you don't know it automatically, I mean, generally the easiest thing is to just Google what is the default port for this thing that I'm using. So if I was looking for the default port for MongoDB, I would, you know, Google default port MongoDB, and it would probably come right up, probably from some like very handy answer on Stack Overflow. So that is it for this tutorial. I hope you can see exactly how this works. You know, I put my services together in the Docker Compose file. I made them all nice and pretty so that they can talk to each other. And then I was actually able to fire up the development stack and have all the things start talking to each other. So that's it for this lesson, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.